You know that feeling, right? That morning rush, you jump in the car, hit start, and bang, you're pulling out, maybe hitting the gas a bit hard. We've all done it. But what if that quick start, that little bit of impatience, is actually sort of silently chipping away at your engine's health, day after day? Welcome to The Deep Dive. We take the info you send us, articles, your questions, experiences, and boil it down, really get to the core of it. Today, we're digging into those common driving habits, the little things you might not even notice, but they add up, quietly damaging your engine until, well, you're facing a massive repair bill. We want to give you the inside track.
Yeah, and knowing this stuff is absolutely key. It's not just basic car care. It's about protecting a really big investment you've made. And the good news is these habits, they're usually pretty easy to change once you know about them. That knowledge today could honestly save you thousands down the line. It's all about prevention, really.
Okay, let's get into it then. First up, something I think a lot of us do, probably me included sometimes. Mistake number 1, the cold start sprint. That's when you start the car and almost immediately drive off hard, right? It's like, imagine waking someone up and telling them to sprint 100 meters instantly. No stretching. Your engine kind of feels that, doesn't it? How bad is it really?
Oh, it's surprisingly bad for it. And that's a great way to put it, the sprinting analogy. Think about your engine after it's sat for a while, maybe overnight. All the oil, the essential lubricant, has mostly dripped down into the oil pan at the bottom. So when you first start it up, especially if it's cold out, that oil is thick, like really cold honey. It needs time. Time to warm up a bit, thin out, and get pumped everywhere it needs to go. You know, critical parts like camshafts, valve lifters, bearings, places where metal moves against metal fast. Research actually shows, and this is pretty startling, that a huge chunk of an engine's total, where some say maybe even 75%, happens in those first few minutes before the oil is properly flowing and warmed up. So if you rev it high or floor it right away,
you're basically grinding things together without protection.
Pretty much. You're forcing metal parts to rub against each other with way less lubrication than they need. It's just accelerated wear. Simple as that.
Okay, that makes total sense, but here's where I think people get tripped up, myself included maybe. You look at the temperature gauge on the dash, right? Starts to move, hits the middle, and you think, okay, engine's warm, good to go. That's not the full picture, is it? That's a common mistake.
Exactly. That's a classic trap. That gauge, it's mostly showing you the coolant temperature. Your engine coolant warms up relatively quickly because it circulates around the hottest parts. But your engine oil, well, that takes much, much longer to reach its ideal operating temperature, significantly longer.
Oh, okay.
The oil has to pick up heat from the engine block itself, from the parts it's lubricating. So even when your coolant gauge says normal, your oil might still be too cold, too thick to give you that full protection, especially if you start driving aggressively.
So relying on that coolant gauge gives you a false sense of security, basically.
It really can, yeah.
So what's the practical fix? It sounds like it just boils down to patience.
Precisely. It's actually really simple. When you start your car, particularly from cold, just take it easy for the first, say, 3 to 5 minutes. Keep the revs low, maybe below 2,500 RPM. Avoid flooring it or any sudden hard acceleration. Just let everything gently come up to temperature.
Like easing into the day.
Exactly. Think of it as mechanical sympathy. This tiny change in habit lets the oil circulate properly and get to the right viscosity. It genuinely adds years, potentially tens of thousands of miles to your engine's life. It avoids that slow, grinding wear.
Got it. Patience at the start. Okay, but what about later in the drive? Let's talk about mistake number 2. Lugging the engine. I bet people listening recognize this sound, even if they don't know the name. You're in a high gear, maybe 5th or 6th, going kind of slow, and you press the gas to speed up, but you don't shift down, and the core just groans and shudders, right? Feels like a struggle, like it's complaining.
Oh, it is complaining. That groan is definitely a sign of distress. It's incredibly stressful for the engine. Your analogy about the bicycle is perfect. Here, imagine trying to pedal up a steep hill stuck in your highest gear. It's agony for your knees, right?
Yeah, impossible almost.
Same idea for your engine. You're forcing the pistons to push against really high pressure inside the cylinders, but at an engine speed, an RPM, where they just can't generate enough turning force, enough torque. The engine is firing itself, and this struggle, this heavy load at low RPM, can lead to something nasty called detonation or engine knock.
Knocking, I've heard of that. Sounds bad.
It is. Instead of the fuel burning smoothly, it explodes violently, uncontrollably inside the cylinder. Think of tiny hammer blows on top of the pistons. Over time, this hammering can cause real damage. You could crack piston rings, bend the connecting rods that link the piston to the crankshaft, damage bearings. It's a silent killer because modern engines often have sensors to detect and compensate for minor knocks, so you might not hear it loudly at first. But the damage is still happening internally.
Wow. Okay, so if it can be subtle, how do you know you're doing it? Besides the obvious groaning sound. And what's the easy fix?
Well, besides the groan or shudder, you might just feel the car is sluggish, hesitant when you accelerate in that high gear. The fix is wonderfully simple. Downshift.
Just change down a gear.
Exactly. If you need to accelerate, especially from low speeds in a high gear, pop it down 1 or 2 gears first. Get the engine RPMs up into what we call its power band or happy place. Usually somewhere over 2,000, maybe 2,500 RPM, depends on the engine. In that range, it can deliver power smoothly, efficiently, without all that strain.
And you'll actually accelerate better too, right?
Absolutely. Better acceleration, less stress on the engine, and often, believe it or not, better fuel economy in that situation because the engine isn't fighting itself.
Makes sense. Let the engine work smart, not hard. Okay, so even if you're great with gears, there's something even more basic, maybe the biggest sin of all. Mistake number 3, starving the engine of oil. We know oil is lubricant, but it's way more than that, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's fascinating how much oil actually does. Lubrication is job 1, obviously, creating that thin film between moving metal parts. But it's also a major coolant. It carries a huge amount of heat away from really hot spots, like underneath the pistons or inside a turbocharger. And it's a cleaner, too. It picks up tiny bits of soot, carbon, metal particles, and carries them to the oil filter. It's literally keeping dozens of parts spinning at thousands of RPMs from melting or seizing together. It's a real workhorse.
So what happens when the level drops too low?
That's when things get catastrophic. If the oil level falls below the pickup tube for the oil pump, the pump starts sucking air instead of oil, or maybe a mix. Air doesn't lubricate. So those critical parts, crankshaft bearings, camshaft bearings, the really high-pressure spots, suddenly lose their protective oil film.
Metal on metal again.
Exactly. Extreme friction, extreme heat, very fast. Metal expands, warps, and eventually, literally welds itself together. The engine seizes, locks up solid.
Game over.
Completely game over. An engine seized from oil starvation is almost always scrap metal. The repair cost is astronomical. And here's the scary part. That red oil pressure warning light on your dash?
Yeah.
By the time that light comes on, indicating low or no oil pressure, serious damage has often already started. It's more of an engine damage is happening right now, light than a warning.
Yikes. Okay, so waiting for the light is playing with fire.
Yeah.
What's the simple habit then? Because I hear even new cars can use some oil between changes.
That's right. It's a myth that only old cars burn oil. Many modern engines are designed to consume a small amount. The habit is embarrassingly simple, but so many people neglect it. Check your dipstick. Physically pull it out, wipe it, dip it again, check the level. Do it every couple weeks or at least once a month. It takes, 30 seconds?
Right.
Your owner's manual shows you how. And also, glance under your car where you normally park. See any oily spots? That's a leak. Get it checked immediately. It's the cheapest insurance policy you can get against catastrophic failure.
Good advice. Okay, mistake number 4. This one sounds dramatic. The water is lava rule, driving through deep water.
That puddle looks shallow, but
it can be an instant engine killer. Those horror stories, they are very real. You need to understand fundamentally, your engine is just a big air pump. It sucks in huge amounts of air through an intake, which is often positioned quite low down at the front of the car, maybe behind the grille.
Okay.
If you drive into water deep enough to cover that intake opening, the engine's going to do what it does best.
Yeah.
Suck. But instead of air, it sucks in water.
And water doesn't compress.
Not one bit, unlike the air-fuel mix it's designed for.
Yeah.
So when the piston comes up on its compression stroke and hits that cylinder full of water, bam, instant violent stop, hydrostatic lock or hydrolock. The force is unbelievable. It can bend connecting rods like they're made of soft metal. People joke they look like bananas. It can crack the engine block itself, punch holes in pistons. The engine is instantly destroyed, ruined.
Just like that. So the advice is pretty blunt then. Absolutely. Don't risk it. Unless you are 100% certain how deep that water is, maybe you saw an identical car go through or you'd wade through it yourself first. Just don't. Find another way around.
Even if it takes longer.
Way longer is better than a $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 engine replacement bill. Most normal cars aren't boats. They aren't designed for waiting. It's never, ever worth the gamble.
Okay, clear message there. Don't do it. Mistake number 5. Ignoring the car's cries for help. Our cars do try to tell us things, right? With leaks, with lights, we just need to pay attention. Let's talk leaks and overheating.
Yeah, those little drips on the driveway, they're sending you a message. Dark and oily. Probably engine oil,
Yep.
reddish or brown, maybe slick, could be transmission fluid. Bright green, pink, orange, that's usually coolant, antifreeze. And if it's clearish yellow, really slick, maybe a sharp smell, that could be brake fluid. And that one is maybe the most dangerous leak because, well, brakes.
Stopping power.
Right. Ignoring any of them is just asking for trouble. They don't get better on their own, they only get worse and potentially lead to much bigger failures.
But maybe the loudest cry for help is that temperature gauge shooting into the red zone or the overheat warning light flashing. That's panic stations, right?
That is a full-blown emergency. You need to act immediately. If you keep driving an overheating engine, even for a couple of minutes, the damage can be immense and incredibly costly. Modern engines often have aluminum cylinder heads. They warp really easily when they get super hot. Fixing a warped head, huge job, very expensive.
And the head gasket.
That's the other big one. Overheating can blow the head gasket, which separates the oil and coolant passages. When it fails, oil and coolant mix together into this horrible mayonnaise-like sludge. It ruins the engine from the inside. The engine is basically cooking itself.
So gauge hits red, light comes on. What do? No try to limp home.
Absolutely not. Zero exceptions. Pull over safely as soon as possible and shut the engine off immediately. Don't think about the next exit. Don't think about your driveway. Every second you run it while it's overheating, you're multiplying the damage, multiplying the repair cost. Calling a tow truck might feel like a pain, but trust me, it is infinitely cheaper than replacing an engine fried by heat. No comparison.
Tow truck over new engine. Easy choice. Okay, finally, mistake number 6. This one kind of wraps everything else together. I call it the most expensive saving you'll ever make. Trying to cut corners on basic maintenance.
Ah, yes, the classic false economy. This is so common. People think, oh, I'll stretch that oil change another 1,000 miles, save a few quid. Or they skip replacing the air filter, ignore the recommended coolant flush. It is, hands down, the most expensive way to save money on your car. Engine oil doesn't last forever. Heat and pressure break it down. It loses its ability to lubricate properly, gets full of dirt, soot, metal particles. Leave it in too long, it turns into sludge. Thick black gunk that blocks up the tiny oil passages inside the engine. And then you're starving parts of oil, just like having a low oil level. We already know how that ends.
Right back to catastrophic failure.
Exactly. And it's not just oil. Clogged air filter. Your engine can't breathe properly. It works harder, uses more fuel, makes less power. Clogged fuel filter. Strains the fuel pump until it fails, another expensive fix. Ignoring brake fluid changes, your brakes get less effective over time. It's all connected.
So that maintenance schedule in the owner's manual, it's not just a suggestion from the manufacturer to make money.
Not at all. It's the single most important thing you can follow for your car's long-term health. Think of it as the cheapest insurance policy you can buy for engine longevity. It's based on engineering to keep everything running optimally and prevent wear. And actually, related to that, here's a quick bonus tip, especially if you have a turbocharged car.
Okay.
After a long drive, or if you've been driving it hard, don't just switch it off immediately. Let it idle for maybe 30 seconds to a minute first.
Why is that?
It allows the oil to keep circulating and cool down those super hot components, especially the turbocharger bearings, more gradually. Just shutting it off instantly leaves them baking in residual heat, which can shorten their life over time. A tiny habit, but it helps.
Good tip. So 6 common habits, often overlooked, that can really do a number on your engine and your wallet. It really does come down to small, consistent things, doesn't it? Both good and bad habits add up. The engine really is the heart of the car.
It truly is. And the great thing is, now that you, listening, understand these pitfalls, you're empowered. You can actively make choices to extend your car's life, keep it reliable, and save yourself potentially thousands in repair costs. Which actually, it raises an interesting question.
Oh yeah? What's that?
Well, modern cars are packed with so much technology, right? Sensors, computers, warning systems. They're incredibly smart. So why do you think these really fundamental mechanical issues, these easily avoidable mistakes we've just talked about, are still so common? Why do drivers still overlook them so easily? And maybe more personally for you listening, after hearing all this, what's maybe one small habit you think you might change? Something to think about.